Okay, a very good afternoon to all my students. So I'm back with my session 3 of consumer behavior, in which I will again talk about the learning chapter. Yesterday I had completed classical conditioning theory, and today I'll be starting off with the implications of classical conditioning. So students, there are 3 implications to the marketers for the classical conditioning theory. First one when we talk about is stimulus generalization. Then we talk about stimulus discrimination, and third we talk about is repetition. So I will start with repetition first. Let me just share my screen with you. So these are the slides that we have already completed earlier in the previous classes. We spoke about the classical conditioning, which spoke about the pairing of the two stimulus to give a conditioned response. So now the implications to the marketers is that this theory either leads to repetition, stimulus generalization, and stimulus discrimination. So what is repetition? Repetition is a thing wherein the stimulus is repeated again and again, which helps you to reduce the chances of forgetting. An advertisement which is displayed again and again, what happens? We memorize in such a manner that it is on a tip, top of the mind advertisement. Why? Because the frequency has been so higher that we remember, okay, this is a product which has come from so and so brand. This is the family branding for a particular shampoo, Pantene, coming from so and so brand. Sunsilk shampoo coming from so and so brand. So what happens? We keep on seeing it, and it helps us to reduce the pace of forgetting. But the problem here is advertising, too much of advertising, too much of repetition leads to advertising wear out. Now what is this wear out? Wear out is when a customer actually feels bored with the repetition of the ads. This is where again the marketer needs to take a step further and come out with cosmetic variations. What is this cosmetic variation? Cosmetic variations are, any slight change in a package maybe. You make changes in your celebrity maybe after say a couple of years, 4 or 5 years. You change the font of the product. You change the slogan of the product. So what happens? Little bit of cosmetic changes to your 4 Ps and which help us to reduce the advertising wear out. There is a theory called 3-hit theory. Now this 3-hit theory basically talks about that an advertisement, if shown 3 times, is more than sufficient for a customer, for your prospective customer to retain that information in his or her mind. Moving further. Now this is an advertisement for repetition, the implication. Now when we started off with the Lux brand, it was earlier Mala Sinha, Vajanti Mala who were showing this ad. Vaiga Rehman, Nargis and Vajanti Mala. That was an era wherein these were the favorite actresses of that time, of that era. When we talk about the parents and all. Now moving further, it was then Sridevi who came in, who popped into the Lux ad, and Sridevi was one of the best top actress of her time. Okay. Now today we see Katrina Kaif endorsing Lux. This is where they have hit all the millennial generation. Why? Because we try to associate ourselves with Katrina. If I make use of Lux, so even my skin will look so supple, so subtle, and so soft. So this is where we are repeating the ad, but we have made a cosmetic variation to it, so as to reduce that advertising wear out. Now just imagine if Vajanti Mala was there till today, the ad would have looked so boring. You would not have been able to associate it. Who was Vajanti Mala? She was not of your generation. So what happens? You need to make cosmetic variations. Okay. Then we come to stimulus generalization. This is where basically we use this concept in product extensions. What happens? We as a customer, we get used to certain things. We become so conditioned to certain things that we agree to the fact that yes, if this product is coming from ABC brand, the next brand ought to be what of the same quality. So what happened? iPod when came from Apple, it was a hit. good 5 years it was in the market. You know, it was a time when, you know, the music company, if you were talking about music company, it gave a shock to Sony. Now, it was iPod which was preferred brand as among the thing, Apple. So what happens? This generalization becomes so prominent that I start assuming and I start believing also that anything coming from Apple, you know, any phone coming from Apple, an iPad came, you know, it is ought to be of a good quality, because we start what we start associating one stimuli to the other stimuli as well. We become so conditioned to the response. Now, for example, I like Bonvita, right? Of olive oil. If I like tomato ketchup, now this not tomato ketchup comes from Maggie sauce, right? Now, anything made from Nestle, Maggie is a brand of Nestle. So if Nestle is giving me a chocolate, new chocolate, it is ought to be good. Nestle is introducing with say a particular brand of soup, it is ought to be very nice. So what happens? We try to generalize things. Okay. Now this concept is also used by the marketer in promoting the Me Too products, those counterfeiting products. I will just show you the example. So wherein we talk about like Bisleri coming with the name Bisluri. So now what happens? Generalization also talks about Me Too products. So let's see an example of the same. Coolgate, an original brand Colgate. So what happens? It is you know, double T and double O. What happens? We make use of this, and we generalize ki, okay, anything of red and white color is ought to be Colgate. So we make mistakes in you know, purchasing the product if we are not very much aware in buying. Bisleri, see, same packaging, almost everything is same, and the name has been given Billuri, but package. So we at times, you know, we just get off from the words, from the letters. Okay, so this is where we make use of the imitative generalization in the imitative products. Now, last implication is stimulus. Okay, you can also see from this example of stimulus generalization, when I was talking about the extension, family branding. See, anything coming from Amul, I eat Amul every day. So it is assumed by me that anything coming from Amul is going to be very good. You know, Amul has its everyday, it has its ghee, it has its cool milk, that thanda milk that they have. They have Amul paneer. So this is again ought to be very good because it is coming from Amul. Same is with the Wills, anything coming from Wills. If I have had a good experience, so I will always assume that anything coming from Wills would be a good brand. Okay, stimulus discrimination. The last implication of stimulus discrimination is wherein, you know, the marketers need to emphasize on their USPs. Because see, there is a tough competition. So how do I compete with my another brand? How do I compete with Dr. Arpita? That means I need to be somewhere different. I need to be, you know, bringing out with some USP in me. Why is Radhika different from Mr. Rao? You know, why is A different from B? Because how is it positioned in your mind? There would be certain thing that is, you know, different, peculiar in you and not in her. So what happens? The discrimination is on the basis of positioning, which looks for unique ways to fill needs. Now, taking the example of Dettol and Savlon. So what happened when Dettol was introduced in the market? It was positioned as an antiseptic lotion, right? That is for any bruises, any wounds, Dettol was only there in the market. So what happened? It was so tough on the skin. I hope that everybody agrees to this fact that it is very itchy. You know, it burns when you apply this Dettol. But it was a hit in the market for the last good many years. So now Savlon came into the market. Now it thought of that how do I compete with Dettol? It is so much, you know, established brand. How do I break its positioning in the minds of the customer? Because see, the components, the chemical formula is almost the same for all these brands, whatever are antiseptic. So what it did was it actually hit on one parameter, on one positioning this thing, on one attribute, that was I am very smooth on the skin. I'm not tough on the skin. I'm very light on the skin. So when you apply Savlon vis-a-vis Dettol, there is a difference, hell lot of difference. You will not feel the impact of Savlon on your skin. So this was how you discriminate. Right. So there I had to break that conditioning that everybody is conditioned towards Dettol. How do I discriminate? So I need to bring in with the various unique features in me. So this is where I've written the USPs. Again, likewise, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, one is more sweeter than the other, which is more carbonated. So this is how I, differentiate myself, positioning, because Pepsi was always considered to be more sweeter, and Coca-Cola came with a very, a very strong carbonated effect. So this is how I differentiate my product from the other. Now, I'll take up the second theory, which talks about instrumental conditioning theory. Instrumental. It is also called operant conditioning theory. So you need to remember both the names. So the word itself, instrumental, the word itself explains that now this is what? There is something which is instrumental in bringing some behavior. I was talking about stimulus response, SR model. Now that response is ought to bring certain behavior in you. So what it tells, this instrumental behavior, instrumental theory, it talks about that it is again a learning theory. It is based totally on trial and error process. What happens? But that trial and error becomes a habit when it is reinforced. And obviously, as a consumer, you will always like to get positively reinforced by the marketer, right? So what happens? I will just take an example for this. This is a model of instrumental conditioning. Now I will just take an example of, say, I want to purchase a pair of shoes. So I know my size, it is 8 or 9, whatever, and I go and I want to buy a formal shoes for myself. So I know that formal shoes I'll get in either Bata or Liberty or Action, right? And I also thought of trying Reebok. But again, when I entered Reebok, they told me, no, ma'am, we are just good in sports shoes. I left the retail outlet and then I went back to Liberty. Then from Liberty, I tried the shoes, I looked the pattern, then I moved on to Action. Then I moved on to Bata, right? So what happens? I have been trying the various variants of shoes in all the retail outlets. So finally, I liked the entire, experience in Bata. Maybe in terms of the salesman, the way he was dressed up, the way he showed me the shoes, the color of the shoes that I wanted, maybe it was maroon color that I wanted, the fit, the size, the make, everything, the sole, leather finishing, everything was so good that I felt that yes, Bata is good for me and I will go for Bata shoes. So what happened? I had been trying, and with trial and error, I came on with the one pair that was Bata. So what happens? This is because the satisfaction, the response with the purchase of the brand, type, size positively reinforces you. What does it mean? That means now I will go to my office and I'll wear my shoes, right? Now, if I feel comfortable throughout the day, right, I will feel so elated inside that yes, it was worth spending 2,000 rupees on this formal shoes, or say 1,000 rupees on this formal shoes. Then on the top of it, one of my friends, she tells me that, oh wow, she appreciates me, that wow, what a nice color. Another colleague of mine says, wow, what a shoes, it is looking so pretty on you. So what happens? You're getting positively reinforced. And your experience for next 3 days, you have been continuously wearing your shoes. What happens? It is positive. So what will happen is, with this trial and error, you will repeat your behavior again after 2 years. If my shoes breaks off, if something, the sole goes off, what will happen? I will directly go to Bata and buy another pair of shoes. Right? So what has happened is that this trial and error has helped me, was instrumental in bringing a response which acted into a behavior, and that behavior was a positive behavior. So that is where the marketer needs to understand that how do I need to keep my customer intact, and how will it do it? By reinforcing that customer again and again. So if you see that today all the most of the shoes outlet, they give you something or the other in return. Maybe 10% discount. They keep on discounts open. They give you loyalty points. So this is how we get positively reinforced, and that purchase pattern becomes accordingly. So this was the model of instrumental conditioning. It was an example of a brand. Say I wanted a jeans. I want to buy a jeans. I tried brand A, try brand B, C, D. It was too loose in my leg. Then another brand was too tight in my feet. It was too baggy tight. And fourth one was the perfect fit. So what happens? Here, your repeat behavior will happen with brand D. Okay? So that is what I was saying, the positive reinforcement. I like Dove soap. It is so moisturizing soap. My skin remains so smoothie every day. So next time also in the purchase, I will go and buy the Dove soap. Negative reinforcement. At times, a marketer also needs to negatively reinforce you. What does it mean? They try to create certain type of fear appeal in you. Like Saffola, what did it do in the starting? That your heart is not safe without me. So your heart is not safe without me. That means I am one product who will protect your heart very nicely. So everybody started changing the product from the older versions of oil to Saffola, right? That is my heart will be safe with Saffola only. Anti-wrinkle cream. What does it say? Anti-wrinkle cream tells, see, if you don't use me, your skin will be like this. If you use me, I will be more brighter, without pigmentation. So what happens? They are giving you a fear appeal. Today also in the COVID-19 scenario, they advertise with the online insurance policy. Abhi karwa lo na, in this time of corona. So we are available online. So what happens? This is again when you talk about that they are giving you a fear appeal. अगर मैं नहीं रहूँगा तो अपने परिवार के बारे में भी सोचो ना. So that is how we create a fear appeal. We are negatively reinforcing you, and that behavior will happen. Punishment. Punishment you can try to understand in the sense that when a policeman catch hold of you by saying that if you do not wear your helmet, you will be punished with a fine of 1,000 rupees. So this is where we talk about punishment, reinforcement. We talked about positive, we talked about negative, punishment, and last is your extinction. Or else, if you smoke, you see that ad of Mahesh in the theater. What does it say? See, you're ruining your own family. You're ruining your health. So this is how you are making use of this reinforcement again. Extinction is wherein a customer, the marketer totally wants to extinct your particular behavior. So if you remember, there was a brand with the name Qtons. Now what this Qtons was always on, promoting its shirts with a discount scheme. Very good discount schemes used to come. Like today we have TNG, these type of brands. So what happens is, once this rebate scheme is withdrawn from the market, what happens? You will stop that behavior altogether. I am not for discounts only. I am a good brand, and I am coming back again with a new strategy altogether. So what happens? They want to make your discount wala behavior extinct. कि I am not a discount store. Rebate store हमेशा आपको नहीं मिलेगा. That is where you talk about you are discouraging that purchase to happen. Okay. Now, moving on to it. So these are the types of fear appeal. Most of the cars also do it. Most of the policies do it. That is today a picture of safety, United India Insurance. Tomorrow an invitation to disaster. This is how they are promoting their brands. Now I will talk about the last theory, which is called the observational theory. So this is observational. Observational theory is also called vicarious theory, or it is also called modeling. That is, you try to model yourself according to the other person. So what happens in this theory, what we are trying to say is that marketers, what they want is that people should observe them. The learning can happen through observation as well. Observation can be in terms of, I'm just watching an ad and a learning happened. I just watched a banner, learning happened. I just observed two people talking to each other about a brand, learning happened. And it is a regular part of everybody's life. Okay? So this is, the definition stands as a process by which individuals observe how others behave in response to certain stimuli and reinforcement. So if I talk about this ad, I've just seen this ad of Clean and Clear. These are the two girls, and see, such a common appeal they have made use of. They have not made use of any celebrity endorsement, right? They have not made use of any celebrity endorsement. What they have tried to do is, they have just told that if you make use of this cream, right, your skin will be pimple free. So now one fine day I saw this ad in the month of November, and today I develop a pimple on my face. My learning is such has happened in such a manner that I will, I have learned this thing that the pimple will go off from Clean and Clear lotion. So I have observed it and I have acted in a positive manner. So here I will stop with this theory, and tomorrow I will take up the last session of learning, which will talk about the cognitive theory. All right, thank you so much. I'm just signing out.